Today, among other headlines, it's that drug companies are exploring using the treatments in children as young as 6 years old. Here to discuss that and much more, Dr. Scott Gottlieb, former FDA commissioner and a CNBC contributor. Doctor, welcome. Which side of this are you on now? What phase of the hype cycle are we in?
Well, look, I think a lot of the market reaction is overblown. People are making very linear assumptions from some of the clinical studies in terms of how that would translate in the real world and the kinds of impacts it would have, for example, on eating of packaged foods, things like that. I saw one analyst estimate that there'd be a reduction in weight on airplanes,
yes,
and that'd lead to fuel savings costs. So some of this does seem to be getting way ahead of itself. With respect to the children specifically, I'm not surprised that the drug companies would be looking to see whether or not it could be effective in that indication to find what the appropriate dose would be. There's a lot of genetic drivers of obesity in children, mutations, for example, in the MCR4 gene, the leptin receptor. It's in a small incidence of obesity in children, but it is a driver. Certain genetic inheritance is a driver of obesity in children. That's why you see a lot of concordance in twins with weight issues. And so if these drugs could be effective in those metabolic diseases, that could be a real medical advance. And so I'm not surprised they would look there. I think it could be a potential public health advance if, in fact, they're proven to be safe and effective in that indication. So it's appropriate to be studying it at this point.
So let's talk a little bit about those theories, that sort of linear analysis that you were describing, like, oh, there's going to be less weight on airplanes, so airplanes will use less fuel, so that will be good for the airlines. I mean, there's going to be less bariatric surgery, and that's going to impact certain companies that are involved in that area. There's going to be less packaged food eaten, so Nestle may not do as well, or Frito-Lay may not do as well, or whatever. Which ones of these sort of extended thoughts make sense to you intuitively?
Well, intuitively, none of them make sense to me. I think they all make a little sense on the margin. I think that there's going to be some impacts overall in the population, but it's going to be gradual. These drugs, are going to take time to reach peak penetrance. Not everyone's going to be able to stay on these drugs, and so you're going to see a lot of patients coming off them or just using them for short durations of time. And I think, quite frankly, as more patients recognize that there's ways to lose weight that doctors can offer, and more patients present to physicians, it also may increase utilization of certain things. So, for example, people who are seeking out these drugs to help them lose weight may seek permanent solutions like bariatric surgery once they get into the medical setting. So I don't think that we could just make linear assumptions about this as a one-way ticket in terms of the impacts on some of these other offerings in the market. And again, when you look at the clinical studies, the weight loss is profound. But once you get out into the real world, where there's going to be a lot of variability in people's ability to stay on these drugs, a lot of variability in what people do once they're on these drugs, you're not going to be able to just read through from the clinical studies and assume that's going to be the real world experience. Unfortunately, it's going to be more muted. That doesn't mean these drugs won't have a big public health impact in the aggregate. But I think trying to read through from the studies to the impacts on individual stocks, at least from my estimation, what I've seen appears to be overblown. Now, that said, I saw the announcement from Nestle yesterday. I think they're smart to be seeing whether or not there's a way to market foods to this segment. They have a lot of latitude in the kinds of claims they can make, the nutrition claims, nutrient content claims that they can make in the food setting from an FDA regulatory standpoint. So there may be a market for foods that are conditioned specifically to people who are on some of these drugs. But I don't think this is going to have just an immediate impact on, people's purchase of packaged goods, for example.
So just a couple of questions. You mentioned, people will come off these drugs. Is that more because over time you don't want to use this for so long? Or is it more that insurance companies will say, hey, we're backing off, you've used it for 18 months. So where is that really playing out?
Yeah, I think it's both things. I think that these drugs have been studied not in perpetuity, so not for lifelong use yet, although there's an assumption people are going to be on these for the lifetime once they get on these drugs, because we know that there's rebound once you come off these drugs. I think that there are going to be some long-term issues with being on these drugs for prolonged periods of time. We see, for example, loss in lean muscle with some of these drugs in some patients. There's going to be tolerability issues, and there'll be insurance coverage issues. And so I think you'll see patients perhaps cycling on these drugs. Some will stay on it. Some will stay on it for a duration of time and come off and maybe adapt their diet over the course of that time and change their habits. Some may go on these drugs and then seek a longer-term solution like bariatric surgery or other kinds of opportunities. But I think you're going to see a lot of variability in the real world in terms of how these drugs get used. And you can't just assume that everyone who gets started on these drugs is going to be on them in the same way that we've seen, for example, with statins. Some will, but I think that that's going to represent only a fraction of the patients.
If you had a patient or a relative who asked you about these medications, what would you tell them?
Look, I think we have a lot of experience with these drugs, and so we understand their safety profile. Now, what we don't have as much experience with is these drugs at the high doses that are used for weight loss. So the doses used for weight loss are 4 or 5 times the doses that have traditionally been used in a diabetes setting where the drugs have been on the market much longer. But we have a lot of safety data, and we generally understand these drugs. And so I would be optimistic for a patient who is obese and properly indicated for this drug, who could recognize the health benefits that come with losing weight. And we've seen some profound benefits in terms of cardiovascular reduction in cardiovascular morbidity from some of the trials that have been done, people looking at impacts on dementia and Alzheimer's disease. So the benefits that correlate with reduction in weight for people who are obese are quite profound. And so I would be looking for these drugs as one alternative to losing weight. And I certainly wouldn't discourage anyone from starting one of these drugs if they're properly indicated, including a family member.
All right. Dr. Gottlieb, thank you as always. It's great to see you. Very clear. Appreciate it.